Have you ever felt like you carry an invisible magnet that attracts the exact kind of person who eventually tries to break your spirit? You walk into a room full of people, yet somehow, the most charismatic, charming, and ultimately high-conflict individual finds their way directly to your side. It feels like fate, or perhaps a cosmic joke, but today on Inner Compass, we are going to strip away the mystery and look at the cold, hard psychological blueprint of why this happens. This isn't about blaming yourself, it's about understanding the high-value light you carry that acts as a beacon for those living in emotional darkness. We are diving deep into the predator-prey dynamic, not to label you a victim, but to show you that the narcissist didn't choose you because you were weak, they chose you because of your extraordinary strengths. By the end of this video, you will understand the 5 specific psychological hooks you possess and the 1 internal compass shift that will make you invisible to narcissists forever. Stick with me, because the last revelation about reflected glory is the one thing no narcissist wants you to realize about your own power. The myth of the weak target. There is a dangerous misconception in the world of popular psychology that narcissists only target the broken, the insecure, or the easy prey. If you've been scrolling through forums or watching videos, you might have started to believe that there is something inherently wrong with you that invited this toxicity into your life. I am here to tell you that from a clinical and evolutionary perspective, that is a complete lie designed to keep you feeling small and powerless. Narcissists are emotional parasites, and like any parasite, they don't look for a host that is dying or depleted, they look for a host that is overflowing with life force, resources, and emotional resilience. They seek out individuals who have a high capacity for empathy, a deep well of patience, and a fixer mentality that allows them to endure things most people would walk away from in a heartbeat. You weren't chosen because you lacked boundaries. You were chosen because your boundaries were flexible enough to accommodate their massive, fragile ego. Understanding this shift in perspective, from I am weak to I am a high-value target, is the very first step in recalibrating your inner compass toward healing. The empathic echo, the first hook. The first reason the narcissist gravitated toward you is what we call the empathic echo, which is your natural ability to mirror the emotions of those around you to create harmony. When you first met them, they presented a false self, a perfectly curated version of the person they thought you wanted them to be. Because you are highly intuitive, you sense their hidden pain and their underlying insecurity, and your natural instinct was to provide comfort and echo back the love they claimed to feel. They saw in you a great source of narcissistic supply because you don't just see people for who they are, you see them for who they could be. You fell in love with their potential, and the narcissist realized they could use your own imagination against you to keep you hooked. They recognized that your empathy is so vast that you would make excuses for their bad behavior long after anyone else would have called the police or walked out the door. This ability to feel for them more than you feel for yourself is the primary bridge they use to walk into your life and set up camp. The logic of the super provider. Beyond just emotions, narcissists are deeply attracted to what we call super providers, individuals who are hyper-responsible, competent, and often the rock of their family or friend group. They look for someone who has their life together, someone who is a problem solver, and someone who takes pride in being the one who handles it all. This is because the narcissist, despite their grandiosity, is often functionally or emotionally stunted. They need someone to navigate the real world for them while they play the role of the protagonist. If you are the type of person who stays late at work, helps friends move, and remembers everyone's birthday, you are a goldmine for a narcissist who wants to offload their responsibilities onto you. They don't want a partner, they want a personal assistant, a therapist, and a shield against the consequences of their own actions. They chose you because they knew you would take the blame for their mistakes just to keep the peace and maintain the perfect image they crave. Your competence is a magnet for their incompetence, creating a perfect but toxic symbiosis that drains your bank account and your spirit. The fixer trait and the rescue fantasy. Do you have a history of saving people, or do you find yourself drawn to the diamond in the rough who just needs a little bit of love to finally shine? This fixer trait is one of the most common psychological profiles that narcissists screen for during the initial love bombing phase of a relationship. They will often share sob stories or tales of how everyone in their past did them wrong specifically to trigger your desire to be the one person who finally understands them. They want to see if you have the rescuer syndrome, because if you do, they know they can treat you poorly and you will interpret it as a cry for help rather than abuse. By playing the victim, they engage your inner compass in a way that points toward their needs while completely ignoring your own safety and well-being. This creates an addictive cycle where you feel that if you just work a little harder or love a little deeper, you can heal the narcissist and finally get back to that early golden phase. They chose you because they knew your integrity wouldn't allow you to give up on someone you love, even when that person is actively destroying you. The magnetism of high integrity. One of the most paradoxical reasons a narcissist chose you is actually your high level of personal integrity and your inability to lie or manipulate. To a narcissist, who lives in a world of smoke and mirrors, your honesty is a resource they desperately need to ground their own false reality. They are attracted to your consistency because they are internally chaotic. They need your North Star to keep their own lives from spinning out of control. When you say you will do something, you do it, and the narcissist realizes they can bank on that reliability while they offer nothing but broken promises in return. They study your moral code not to emulate it, but to find the loopholes where they can guilt-trip you into staying. If your inner compass is calibrated toward always do the right thing, the narcissist will simply redefine the right thing as doing what makes the narcissist happy. They rely on the fact that you would feel guilty for acting selfishly, even when your selfishness is actually just basic self-preservation. Your goodness isn't a weakness, but in the hands of a manipulator, it becomes the very chain they use to keep you tethered to their demands. The reflected glory syndrome. We often think narcissists want to be the best, but frequently, they prefer to stand next to the best so they can absorb your light through osmosis. They chose you because you have qualities, whether it's your social status, your career success, your physical beauty, or your kindness, that they feel they lack. By winning you over, they feel they have successfully conquered the best version of humanity, which temporarily boosts their fragile self-esteem. They view you as a trophy or an extension of themselves rather than a sovereign human being with your own needs and desires. When you shine, they feel powerful by association, but the moment your shine threatens to overshadow them, the devalued phase begins. They chose you because you were too good for them, and the hidden psychological thrill for the narcissist is the process of bringing a high-value person down to their level. This reflected glory is why they brag about you to strangers but criticize you behind closed doors. They want the world to see your light, but they want to be the one who controls the dimmer switch. The giver and the taker equilibrium. Psychologically speaking, the narcissist-empath dynamic is a perfect closed-loop system of energy exchange that is entirely unsustainable for the giver. You were likely raised or socialized to believe that giving is better than receiving, a noble trait that the narcissist views as a massive strategic vulnerability. They possess an entitlement complex, believing the world owes them everything, while you possess a responsibility complex, believing you owe the world your best effort. When these two energies meet, it creates an immediate, intense bond because the narcissist finally found someone who will give until it hurts, and you found someone who seems to need you more than anyone else. They didn't choose you because you were a victim type, they chose you because you are a benefactor type who finds meaning in being useful. This creates an addictive dopamine loop where you feel purposeful by helping them, and they feel powerful by draining you. However, this equilibrium is a trap because the narcissist's cup has a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, they will always demand more. The testing phase, the boundary audit. Long before the relationship became official, the narcissist conducted what we call a boundary audit to see exactly how much you would tolerate. They likely started with small tests, showing up late, making a joke at your expense, or subtly gaslighting you about a minor detail, just to see if you would call them out or excuse the behavior. Because you are an empath, your natural instinct was likely to give them the benefit of the doubt, which signaled to the narcissist that your boundaries were porous. They chose you because you passed their test by failing to protect yourself. You showed them that your empathy for them was stronger than your respect for your own limits. This audit is a crucial part of their selection process, as they quickly move away from people who have hard boundaries and high self-advocacy. By the time you realized what was happening, the narcissist had already mapped out the entire territory of your psyche. They knew exactly which buttons to push to make you feel guilty and which ones to press to make you feel loved again. The history of overfunctioning. To understand why the narcissist chose you, we have to look back at your attachment style and whether you have a history of overfunctioning in relationships. Many people who attract narcissists grew up in environments where their value was tied to what they could do for others rather than who they were. You may have been the peacekeeper in your family or the child who had to grow up too fast to care for an emotionally immature parent. This parentification created a blueprint in your brain that says love equals service, which is a narcissist's favorite language to speak. They recognized that you are comfortable in the role of the emotional heavy lifter, and they were more than happy to let you take the lead. You were chosen because you are a pro at managing other people's emotions while ignoring your own. This familiarity with chaos makes you less likely to run away when the narcissist starts showing their true colors. The scarcity of the soul-deep connection. Narcissists are actually very bored individuals who suffer from a chronic sense of inner emptiness, and they are drawn to the soul-deep intensity that empaths carry. They chose you because you live life with a passion and a depth of feeling that they can only pretend to have. They are emotional tourists who want to visit your world of deep feelings, meaningful art, and spiritual connection because their own internal world is a desert. They mimic your language, your hobbies, and your values during the mirroring phase because they want to steal the flavor of your life. They saw your inner compass pointing toward meaning and growth, and they decided to hitch a ride on your journey because they have no direction of their own. This is why the breakup feels so devastating. They didn't just leave, they took the color out of your world by devaluing the very traits they once praised. They wanted your essence, but because they couldn't truly own it, they eventually tried to destroy it so no one else could have it. The myth of the one and only. One of the most painful realizations is that while the narcissist chose you for your unique strengths, they also viewed you as a disposable source of supply. To the narcissist, people are like appliances. They want the top-of-the-line model with the most features, that's you, but they will replace you the moment you break or stop working for them. They chose you because you were the best battery available to power their ego at that specific moment in time. This doesn't mean your connection wasn't real to you, but to the narcissist, it was a transaction where they got the better end of the deal. They targeted your uniqueness specifically to make you feel that you were the only one who could save them, which is a classic grooming technique. This specialness trap is what keeps you ruminating, wondering why they chose you if they were just going to treat you like garbage later. The truth is, they chose you for the high you gave them, not for the person you actually are. Recalibrating your inner compass. Now that we have deconstructed the why, we must focus on the how, as in, how do you stop being a magnet for these individuals moving forward? Recalibrating your inner compass means shifting your focus from why did they do this to how do I protect my light. The key is not to become less empathic or colder, but to become more discerning with who gets access to your inner sanctum. You must learn to view your empathy as a precious resource rather than a free-for-all for anyone who looks like they are hurting. When you start setting hard boundaries and requiring consistency over charm, you become psychologically indigestible to a narcissist. They will sniff around, realize you can't be manipulated, and move on to an easier target who hasn't done the work yet. Your goal is to become boring to predators while staying vibrant for healthy, reciprocal partners. The final revelation: you are the prize. The secret that the narcissist worked so hard to keep from you is that you were always the one with the power in the relationship. They spent every waking hour trying to convince you that you were lucky to have them, precisely because they knew they were lucky to have you. They gaslight you into doubting your intuition because your intuition was the only thing capable of seeing through their mask. They chose you because you are a creator of love, joy, and stability, while they are merely consumers of those things. Once you realize that the light they seem to bring into your life was actually just a reflection of your own light, the narcissist loses their grip on your soul. You are not a victim of your empathy, you are a steward of a very powerful gift that simply needs better security. You were chosen because you are extraordinary. Now it's time to start believing that for yourself. As we close this chapter of our journey on Inner Compass, I want you to take a deep breath and realize that the navigation of your life is finally back in your hands. If this video resonated with you, it's a sign that your inner compass is already starting to point back toward your own healing and self-worth. I want you to leave a comment below with the word aligned if you are ready to stop being a host and start being the hero of your own story. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because our next video is going to be a practical guide on the 3 boundaries narcissists can't break. You are not alone in this journey, and every step you take toward self-awareness is a step away from the shadows of the past. Thank you for watching and keep your compass pointed toward the truth.